Hello everybody and welcome to the Real Housewives Edit. My name is Elle and I'm here to talk about the two loves of my life, editing and housewives. Well, you guys, we are at this big episode of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Next week is the finale. I am so excited to see how this kind of all plays out. I'm really excited about the reunion. You guys know that I am literally going to have a baby any day, but I'm really hoping that the baby waits until the season is over. I know where my priorities are. I'm just so grateful to all of you for continuing to watch the videos, all of your amazing comments, and for subscribing. Like, you are making all of my dreams come true. So I really appreciate it. Today we are going to cover the scene between Kyle and Kathy, and I cannot wait to get into it with you guys. So let's just get started.
At the door. Oh, I see you have my shirt on.
Howdy, ma'am.
Howdy, ma'am. Come in.
These flowers are for you.
Thank you.
Just came in from the Ponderosa all the way from Cartwright City.
How are you? What is
Apologize.
Okay, so obviously there's some sisterly inside jokes maybe going on here, but you guys can hear there's no music whatsoever.
Howdy, ma'am.
Howdy, ma'am. Come in.
These flowers are for you.
Thank you.
Just came in from the Ponderosa all the way from Cartwright City.
No music because this is a raw moment. It's a real moment. We know there is so much underlying here. The editors don't need to push anything on us or make us feel anything because we're feeling the tension. We don't need music to push us forward in this moment.
Okay.
This is the first time that I'm seeing Kathy since Aspen. I think we exchanged a couple of texts while I was away, but we have not had a real conversation about exactly what happened.
Do you like my cowboy boots?
Well, those aren't cowboy boots. Those are just boots. You would not get on a horse with those. Those look like more like pilgrims.
Pilgrims?
You like ice in your water? It's cold already, but do you like
No,
ice?
just like that.
So you guys, you know, we've talked about how they leave things in that are important to the story or the storyline. You guys might be like, why would they leave in a moment just talking about some boots? Every moment counts, right? And the editors, they don't just throw stuff in willy-nilly like, oh, this will be fun to watch her talk about her boots. Most likely for that, it's just to kind of start with a light moment. It's to show that Kathy is feeling awkward. I'm sure you guys have all been in the position, I definitely felt for this, where you're awkward and you're not sure how to kind of approach the situation, so you start making small talk about stuff. You're like, oh, look, the weather, and like you just make things up because you don't know how to segue into the important conversation. And I think that's why they left that in, to sort of humanize Kathy and give us something to relate to.
Just like that is perfect. I thought this was Alexia's t-shirt. And I thought it matches, so I'm gonna wear it because I wanna make peace.
It sounds so easy on paper. Just sit down and talk about it. But as history goes with us, that hasn't really worked.
I have been approached to
So now, you know,
our own
Kyle's saying basically like a sit down between sisters, between me and my sisters, you know, or with Kathy, it just doesn't work for us. And so now they have to give us a little bit of context to that, because if she just said that, honestly, Kathy's been on for a couple seasons now. I know they've had their, you know, problems outside of the show, but we never kind of saw those problems. We kind of just saw that they like didn't speak for a long time. So now they have to give us context. They have to flash back to show us like these were the moments that actually Kyle is referring to.
I'm not going to London anymore. I'm no longer going to the wedding. As American woman, it's not like it was before. We did everything together, talk every single day, 10 times a day, something like that.
How is your relationship with Kathy right now?
Not great.
Are you speaking?
Not right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Kathy, what's your reaction when you see some of that old footage of Kyle talking about being estranged from you?
We wasted a lot of time.
So they really are just showing all these flashbacks. I remember all those flashbacks from the actual episodes, you know, with Kyle going through it with Kathy. but it wasn't as impactful to us because we never got to see Kathy. We always just saw one side of the equation. We always just saw Kyle, and we kind of obviously felt bad for Kyle in those moments, and we saw her caring about it, but we never saw Kathy. We never saw the other side. We never saw confrontation between the two until now. So they're really trying to build it up and build it up to kind of show like this has been an ongoing thing. This isn't anything new. And they're doing that by using flashbacks. If they didn't do that by using flashbacks, it would be really hard for us to get as invested in the scene. So the editors have to put this stuff in so that we, you know, are leaning in.
You wasted a lot of time.
She's so happy we're together. She's so happy we're together.
When these things have happened in the past, it affects me tremendously. Nothing can get my anxiety going worse than having that conflict with my family and having to sort of keep it to myself.
Those are cute bracelets.
Thank you. You really like them?
Yeah, I really do.
Do you want them?
No.
Take them, because I have more.
So again, showing these little tiny moments, like obviously Kathy just feels terrible about what went down. So she's just like,
Yeah, I really do.
Do you want them?
No.
Take them, because I have more.
trying to make small talk. Here, I'm gonna give you my bracelets, you know, all that stuff.
Because I have more.
No, I don't want to take them from you.
I have
Okay, fine.
a bunch.
I'll
Take them
I'll
all,
take
because they're
two.
really cute.
Well, I'll take two.
No, take the whole thing, because I'm getting hot with them anyway.
Again, they're also, it's not just the small talk thing, they're also showing the relationship between the sisters. This feels very, I don't have any sisters, but this feels very sister to me, like, oh, I want to take your stuff, like raid your closet, you know, very like we share everything type of thing, or we don't share everything, you know, whatever, there's sisterly stuff. But this feels like a moment to kind of build like, there's a long history, they're sisters, it's family, they love each other, you know, they've probably swapped jewelry 1,000 times. So that's what they're kind of showing in this moment.
The bracelets are making you hot.
Yeah.
So what's been happening while I've been away? You know, I don't know a lot, but, you know, but I know some stuff. And
Well, what I want to say is I'm here to apologize to you. Because
thank you.
I started ranting and venting my feelings. And
Do you guys notice what they're missing here on purpose? And it's very impactful. Music.
Well, what I want to say is I'm here to apologize to you.
They've basically had very little music throughout this entire scene, again, because it's a very raw, you know, raw emotion. They don't need to push us to feel anything. The tension is really, really thick underneath the two. We're also seeing relationship between them. This just feels very real to me. They're also letting pauses play out.
Because
Thank you.
They're not cutting pauses out. They're not making them talk over each other, you know, to keep the scene moving or anything like that. They're really letting this scene breathe, as you would say. So when you let a scene breathe, you allow the audience to kind of sit back and go like, feel what the characters are feeling. Obviously, Kyle's going through stuff, Kathy's going through stuff, and they're going through something together, and that's what they want from the audience.
And I didn't think that they would get back to you. I dress up, but I'm not dressed up there. You know what I'm saying?
Those are your shoes that you went to the airports like that?
Yeah.
What if people recognize you?
Are these boots okay? Or are these beyond?
It's the whole outfit that's beyond.
And a little bit of it, I get it, it's funny, whatever. But now I'm starting to feel a little insecure.
So it's interesting, she's sort of narrating like where her outburst came from. Obviously Kyle was kind of ribbing her up there like in Aspen about her, the way she's dressed and stuff like that. I feel like Kathy it was a buildup for her on the trip to feeling more and more sort of like picked on by everyone and sort of like an outcast. It feels like she's narrating here, and what the editors are doing are using flashbacks to help, you know, her narration.
Why am I being put in this position?
No, but I'm just
I
saying.
have to apologize right now. Do you know how often you do that to me? No one takes a joke too far more than you.
I'm gonna hide the purse quickly.
Where's my purse?
Kathy. Kathy is a practical joker at everyone else's expense, so she's not really in the position to say, oh, she didn't like the jokes.
I understand the sentiment, but I'm like, those two things are not the same at all. being constantly told that your outfits aren't right and that this aren't right, and telling the other people like, oh my God, look at her bag, and oh my God, your shoes, your outfit is beyond, is a little bit different than like hiding a purse. But I do understand the sentiment, because I do think they have like sisterly stuff. So it's kind of like, you can't get sensitive. If I don't get sensitive to you, you can't all of a sudden come in and be sensitive. I think that's what Kyle's trying to say.
I like the jokes towards her. And I actually don't believe that she was offended by those at all. She wasn't. I think that's her excuse. You know, that night, you were in a mood. You were seeing red. You were screaming at me in front of everybody. It's not the first time you've done it. It's just the first time you've done that with other people watching. And it really hurt me and embarrassed me.
I'm very sorry. But I'm mostly sorry for...
What you said back at the house?
Yeah. And I mean...
Why did you say that? Stop.
So again, lots of pauses.
But I'm mostly sorry for...
What you said back at the house?
Yeah.
You can almost hear them thinking in the moments in between. Instead of making the scene move, again, they're letting it breathe, because they want us to feel what each of them are feeling. They want us to get super invested in this conversation. This dynamic between these two sisters is very interesting. If we could get Kim back in the mix, that would even make it more interesting, you know? But I think like they're really trying to get us as an audience invested in this, because honestly, I don't think this season has been the most like explosive and like exciting season. You know, we were starting to go down some roads of like, you know, Lucy, apple juicy type territory, where we're like, oh, like we're sick of this storyline. And I think like, you know, what they're trying to do is make some deeper storylines go down in Beverly Hills, because we all know that like a lot of it has felt fabricated. A lot of it has felt like, you know, they kind of put a sheen over what's actually happening, and it's very frustrating for us viewers. So I think they're kind of going into this like, let's go deeper into this conversation, let's go deeper into this relationship, and hopefully it'll play out, and we'll see it play out, you know, in a positive or whatever way it decides to go.
Overtired, angry, stupid. Glass of wine, 2 glasses of wine, altitude. I'm so sorry.
Well, I appreciate that.
And also that space and that time and those pauses and the no music.
I'm so sorry.
When you have someone being really real, you just don't need that stuff. You don't have to gild the lily, which means you don't have to paint the lily to make it more beautiful. The lily's already beautiful within itself. So a scene like this between two sisters where it's really real, I personally really feel where Kathy's coming from. We've talked before about like, is Rinna making it all up? And I think like as things have unfolded and we're watching this now, like, no, she's not making it all up. Maybe she's dramatizing and producing like she tends to do. But I do think that like, yeah, Kathy really did have a meltdown. And I think a lot of people are like, yeah, she did. She was poked and prodded at for days, and all of the stuff, like just the mean girls being mean to her, just kind of got to her. But I really feel these apologies heavy. And again, I think the editors do too. So they're not gilding the lily.
You know, I don't feel like I've had a lot of support from my sisters for, I don't even know, a very, very long time. And
I want you guys to see that they're actually going closer in now on Kathy than before. They're actually going closer in on Kyle as well. This might have been done on set, like the cameras, you know, actually like pushing into them. They're not moving the cameras closer to them. They're just kind of moving the lens so that it goes a little closer so that, you know, they don't feel like their space is invaded. But they are doing these closer shots, and this is just to get us to feel like it's a little bit more intimate. The closer you are, the more you're going to feel what's going on with that person, because you see more, you know, intricately their tears, their emotion, their face, the way it's moving. So you can see as this gets more emotional, they're pushing in on both of them.
When I hear you talk like that and the things you said, I feel like you hate me or something. It makes me feel so bad.
No, don't, Kyle.
But how could you say those things?
Kyle.
How could you say those things?
Kyle. I mean, we never get a chance to ever do anything like today.
First of all, I am working my ass off.
I get that. But you do have to make a little time for family.
Well, I make time for my family.
So interesting, because I swear, like, didn't they have a conversation earlier where Kyle was like trying to talk to Kathy and Kathy had her blocked or something? It does seem like Kathy's more of the aloof one in terms of like getting together, and like she just doesn't show up to things sometimes, and she sort of like just goes in and out of the life. It does seem a little strange to me that here she's saying like Kyle's the one that doesn't make time. I hate when people like turn around their own stuff on you and then you're like, wait, no, you can't do that to me right now, because no, that's not true. Maybe I've been busy lately in the last couple days. I see Kyle being pretty open to like, I don't know. What do you guys think? I would love to hear.
Family. I make time for my husband and my children. I'm trying to balance everything.
I get that.
If someone hurts me, I have to keep them at arm's length to protect myself.
Mm-hmm.
Blood included.
Okay, so now they're bringing in music, right? So she says blood included. They bring in this music.
Blood included.
It's a little ominous. She just said something that may have kind of struck a chord. You see Kathy kind of move her head and the music comes in.
If we could have direct communication, that would be great. It is hard to get you on the phone. It is impossible. I feel like a pest.
Well, you often call me to rant. Sometimes Kathy's call will be preceded by a text, "Hi, important, calling you." And immediately my whole body goes numb. What?
Interesting. So, not from an editorial standpoint, but I loved this confessional. I love that they included this, and I love that she really like let herself kind of talk about this, because this is trauma stuff. This is like, I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this. Like, I can relate to this. When you have someone who causes some chaos in your life, or who's been around you during chaos in your life, those types of texts are like, you do not want to face them. You do not want to be with them. You do not want to talk to them. And I just thought it was really like vulnerable of Kyle to speak about this idea that like Kathy proceeds with a text like that and her whole body goes numb. I think that was really relatable. There's people in your life that don't bring you the type of peace that you want. And so you tend to sort of like, oh, like I can't deal with you right now type of thing.
What is it? You don't ever say, how are you? What's going on with you, honey? How are this? It's a lot of times,
No,
it's just
it's not.
It is, Kathy. It is. And it's not like, you know, how's the movie going? How's the shoot going? What's going on? I don't get those questions. I don't want to hear about how you're pissed off about this or that. So sometimes I do avoid her call. I do.
I'm very proud of you. You're a great wife. You're a great mother. Kyle.
It would be nice to hear you say that.
You are a great wife. You're a great mother. You're talented. You're thoughtful. You do it all. And I am very proud of you. Mom would be very proud of you. Okay.
So this moment is just so real, the way that Kathy's speaking to her and the way they're showing Kyle, like the emotion kind of wash over her. Instead of just showing Kathy as she's speaking about it, they're showing Kyle and showing her absorb and take in these compliments and this information from Kathy, which as an audience, we can't help but watch this. And I don't know about you guys, but I definitely felt something like, wow, Kyle really needs this. It feels like something maybe she always wanted from her mother or something. It just feels like she hasn't really heard it enough and she's just dying for it. And so she's letting it kind of wash over her. It's making her uncomfortable, but it's also making her emotional. I just thought that was really beautiful that the editors decided to kind of hang on Kyle's face instead.
Okay.
Thank you.
Come here. Come here. Come here. I am so proud of you. I am so proud of you. Do you hear me?
My mom and my dad were always my biggest cheerleaders. And when you lose that, you kind of feel like no one's ever gonna love me like that. And no one's ever going to support me or be proud of me like that.
These are the moments, you guys, I don't know about you guys, but where I just feel like, I'm like, wow, these housewives give us so much. Like, this doesn't feel acted at the way that we've had some other moments. Kyle is showing so much here. This is really vulnerable. Like, she's over her shoulder, they're crying to each other, and what she's saying in the confessional feels really real to me. These are the moments, honestly, to me that like keep housewives relevant. Like, whether or not they have some crazy storyline or anything like that, like when you see them really truly emoting and really saying some stuff that like makes you go, oh wow, like I can relate to that, or I've seen that go down or whatever, it solidifies them to us as cast members because we're invested. Getting invested in someone is the best way to make you continue to show up and watch the show. You guys may wonder why there's certain other characters, certain other cast members that you're less invested on staying in the cast, and that's because they do not let you in to allow you to get invested in them. So then whatever happens to them, you're kind of like, okay, whatever. You know, a lot of first season housewives tend to get into this category because you're kind of like, okay, I don't really know you yet. You're not really letting us in. You know, there was a part earlier with Diana where she's talking to Elton John, and then she says, you know, I have all these stories about Elton John, but I could never tell you guys. And we're just like, okay, not like she needs to tell us, but you're on a reality show and you're telling us what you're not going to tell us. It's like meeting a friend for the first time or meeting someone for the first time, and they're totally tight to the chest, not telling you anything, not like divulging anything, being very like, you know, standoffish. At a certain point, you're kind of like, all right, like, what is this? I don't really care about your journey or what you're doing. You can't not allow me in and then expect me to be invested in your life. You just can't. But Kyle here, you know, and Kathy as well, I think they're just really doing a great job of letting us in. And so any conflict or any bad stuff or anything that comes down the pike, we are into them, whether we love them or hate to love them or love to hate them or whatever, we're invested.
I love you so much.
I think hearing Kathy say that, you know, she is my big sister because I don't have my parents, you know. Hearing her say that obviously means a lot to me, but it completely contradicts what she said in Aspen. So, you know, what do you believe?
So they're just continuing the conflict, right? Obviously her confessional was really good for that.
Hearing her say that obviously means a lot to me, but it completely contradicts what she said in Aspen. So, you know, what do you believe?
It's a housewife's dream to have this go on where a makeup or a resolve is happening on screen, but then in confessional or in some other moment, the tension is still there. So we're like, it's not totally fixed yet, right? It can't be fixed. She's in her arms saying all that, like, thank you, but she's also like, but this happened. So the conflict continues, which is what they want, because what will happen? We will keep watching. We will really want to know what goes on at the reunion. If Kyle was in her confessional and she was just like, everything's forgiven, everything's perfect, I love her, and I'm never gonna fight with her again, we would all be like, okay, but what's gonna happen at the reunion? And not like we want their lives to blow up, but honestly, that's just not real life. Like, no matter how much you forgive someone or no matter how much like you resolve conflict, it's still there in some way. You know, it doesn't mean that you don't forgive them or you don't move on, but it still can underlie. And so by Kyle being really open with that, it's just good TV.
What about the other women that were there? Have you talked to them about what?
Yeah, I've talked to everybody. Everybody. I mean, I have not talked to Erica because I never spoke to her. And I tried Lisa, but I did not reach her.
Rinna is coming here in a little
good.
while. So
Good.
if you want to talk to her in person,
Yeah, I would love
you can
to.
hang around. I mean, I just don't want to see a situation where you guys can't find some sort of peace.
Right.
Because they're trained assassins. Are you kidding me?
It's just such a weird thing that they went to this wide shot where Kathy and Kyle are talking and then Kathy's standing up and like readjusting her clothes and like picking up her bag. It clues us into so much like First of all, Kathy's uncomfortable about this scene that's gonna come up with Rinna and that she has to prospectively talk to her, you know, but also that just Kathy's just not like trained like these other women to be on this show. Like once they're in the scene and they're sitting looking at each other, I'm sure they just wait until the producers are like, okay, cut. I can just tell Kathy's just like getting up like any of us would in normal life and just start adjusting and readjusting and getting stuff out of her bag. That was all I wanted to cover, just that scene between Kyle and Kathy. I found it to be so kind of like emotional and just really heavy, and I really, really loved watching it. I loved the stuff between them. I love the relationship deepening, the storyline continuing, the tension still being there at the end, the fact that the editors didn't use a lot of music or sound to kind of like push us towards any direction. It was raw, it was real, it was really reminiscent of earlier seasons, which I really liked. But a lot of the times they just don't have the meat. Conversations aren't as deep as that, so they have to kind of help them along with music and sound effects and stuff like that. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to cover another scene in this episode as well, so stay tuned. Subscribe, like the video, do all that stuff, and leave your comments below. Classy comments only, you guys know the drill. Until next time.
Right now, I believe Kathy.